Florida looked pretty good yesterday offensively, 51-35. Let me rephrase. Florida looked fantastic offensively yesterday. Kyle Pitts, I think, was the best football player I watched yesterday. He was incredible. That is the tight end for the few out there who are unfamiliar. 8 catches, 170 yards, 4 touchdowns. That's a good month for Kyle Pitts that he had in one day yesterday. Kyle Trask was phenomenal. 30 of 42, 416, and 6 touchdowns. I want you to notice a few things, and there were many things to notice for this Florida offense. I want you to notice that they answered repeatedly questions that we had on this show, up to and including the grand season preview that we did for Florida the other day. These numbers for Trask, they weren't cheap. If you watch the Miami-Louisville game in week 1, De'Aaron King had some throws where he had a receiver in their own zip code with no defender anywhere in the screen. That wasn't the kind of completion that Kyle Trask was making routinely yesterday. He looked so good. The precision was there. The good decision-making was there. The pocket awareness was there. Everything you would want from a guy who is capable of playing at a championship level at the quarterback position, it was there. There are several reasons to be ecstatic. Not only that, it wasn't just the Kyle Pitts show. He got everyone involved. Every one of their receivers involved, and they're deep there. They are very, in fact, we really undersold, and I'll admit this, we really undersold that Florida wide receiver unit's potential on our grand season preview. Some of you called us out on it, and you're right. And I'm not just going to say we were wrong, because I hate saying that, but we certainly sold them short. I'll tell you that. Now, having said that, Florida's defense was awful yesterday. It was terrible. They were down a lot of guys, and I think that has a lot to do with it. They were down Stewart, and then Sean Davis got ejected. And this is a mouthful when I say this, because it was a bad day all around yesterday. Probably the worst call I saw in the SEC yesterday was the Sean Davis targeting ejection. I mean, Sean Davis probably got ejected for doing things he is coached to do yesterday. I don't know how else to put that. I can't, you guys, I got so much respect for these players who get ejected for textbook defense, and they maintain their composure. I got respect for the coaches, the full-grown adults who are able to do it. But the players, how in the world players maintain their composure knowing they just did what they're supposed to do and they're getting ejected from a game for it? Beyond me. But Kyrie Campbell was out, Moon was out, and a lot of these absences on this Florida defense, that's what Lane Kiffin went after. And when you watched receivers continuing to run free across the middle of the field, that's what being down a couple of safeties will do for you. That's what being down a jack linebacker will do for you. So I think a lot of that's rectified when you get those guys back. You remember my biggest question when we were talking about Florida, though, was championship caliber depth. It wasn't the starting guys. If all those starting names on your depth chart, if they're out there all year, Florida can win a national championship. That's how good they are. The problem is that's never happened in the history of the sport. Your depth is going to be tested, and you don't know where and you don't know when it's going to be tested, though. So they won yesterday because they have a far superior roster. This was our favorite play on the entire board. Florida minus 12.5. We got it early. We gave it to you, and Lane Kiffin tried to backdoor us, but to no avail. I don't have a problem at all with some of the boldest statements that are being made right now. Some people in the Florida fan base and elsewhere are starting to draw parallels. They didn't even have to wait for the season to start. They did it before that. They're starting to draw parallels, you know where I'm going, to the 2019 LSU team, which is ludicrous because I don't think anyone's ever going to duplicate that, at least not for quite a while. However, in principle, I don't have any problem with it. And I know I'm normally the pump the brakes guy here. I don't have any problem with it. This is not some prediction that says Florida is going to equate to 100% of the production that LSU was able to amass last year. It's not that. I want you to think past the numbers, and I want you to think about principle. What did LSU have? What all happened last year? Well, they had a great big giant green checkmark at quarterback, so Florida does have that. They had a head coach or an offensive coordinator in that case last year. In this case, it is the head coach for Florida who calls the plays. They had that stuff figured out. And when I say call, you understand what I mean when I say call plays. They had that figured out. There is a great big green check mark next to that box. You know what else they had last year? They had skill and a wide variety of skill at the perimeter, tight end positions. I think we can definitively conclude that Florida has that. They had a capable run game. Florida, for that matter, played yesterday out about like I would always play it out if I were them. I would come out of the gate ultra explosive, knowing all the while I got 2 or 3 running backs that I can lean on to salt a game away late. It's kind of the way they tried to handle it yesterday. That's the way LSU did it last year. That's the way Florida can do it this year. what were the biggest questions? This time last year, and then week 2, week 3, week 4, no one was crowning LSU a national champion. No one was predicting them to win the West. You know why? Because their defense wasn't on par with what it needs to be. But do you remember why? Well, Ed Orgeron would tell you it's just because Dave Aranda's a third grader. But in real life, it was just because they were without some guys. And then they started getting guys back. And then you know what happened? Magically, the defensive numbers started to improve. Florida's going to start getting guys back, and their defensive numbers will improve. How much will they improve? To that degree, that's where the SEC Eastern Division questions still remain. But I don't have any problem. If someone says the team that reminds me the most of 2019 LSU that I've seen so far is Florida, I don't have any problem with you saying that. I think there are a lot of parallels to be drawn there. Now, as for Ole Miss, I think Ole Miss found their quarterback. There was a huge question in Oxford, publicly, behind the scenes. You had John Reese Plumlee and you had Matt Corral over there, and one of them has this skill set and these sets of question marks, and then the inverse is how you define the other quarterback. Well, Matt Corral had a pretty darn good day yesterday. And while they fell short, there was a lot to be taken away offensively. The two biggest questions that I had, one of them with each team here, aside from the obvious coming out of this, is first, is the perception of Florida about to change? And is it about to radically shift on the recruiting trail? Because I want you to imagine being a perimeter skill guy, being a quarterback, being any of a number of guys, and they need them all over the place. Watching that yesterday, it's the first time you've probably watched Florida and you said, I think I can actually win a national title there. That's what it feels like to me. Remains to be seen if that's how it pans out. We'll see. Florida's already got a good class. Can it be a great class? We'll see. With Lane Kiffin, it's really simple. How quickly can you overhaul your defensive roster? That's it.